nice group attend our training. So again, thank you. I'm going to go through my usual spiel, reminders for everyone. If you're not familiar with this campus, the bathrooms are across the clinic. Coffee and water is available in the kitchenette off the back door there. So there's this question on the eval that we always get scored really low on, and it's regards to accommodating disabilities. Just know that if anybody needs accommodations, you can contact myself or Laura in the future. So let's see here. And then again, with the evaluations, if you'll please take a few minutes to complete that at the end. The feedback's very helpful for the training committee as well as our presenters, and they like to get that information from you. At the end of the training, if you have a couple minutes to help me put tables and chairs away, that would be great. Any training requests that you have, you can contact myself, Nina Schooley. And don't forget to sign in and sign out in the VAT, and then there's a separate sign-in sheet for CEs. And if you need a certificate, those of you who are in Family Preservation Services should know that you do need one. But you can make that request on the sign-in sheet in the back as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Michael Reifer.
That's right.
Not Reifer.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. All right, thank you.
Yeah. When two vowels go walking, the second one does the talking. In Europe, not here, but it's, yeah. So I have a lot of relatives who say reefer, and my dad was an intern in Harlem with Dante Venegas, who used to be the pastor at Madison Square, but when my dad interned with Dante, then it was, I don't think you want to be Reverend Reefer. So he went back to saying it the right way. I say it correctly. The rest of my relatives are all wrong. My grandfather was one of 10, so there's more people doing it wrong than are doing it right. But anyway, so because I made the PowerPoint, I put pictures of my kids in it. And when we made the handouts, I was tardy in turning in stuff. So you get pictures of my kids. Normally I delete like the personal slides before we make the handouts, but I was tardy. So the bonus is you get pictures of my kids to take home, which is sweet. We have 5. My oldest, Simeon, just turned 12 yesterday. And then Samuel is 10 and a half, Isaiah's 8 and a half. We have one girl, Eliana, she's 5. And then baby boy Josiah is 2. And it's huge and busy and lovely, and it's fun. So what I plan on doing is I'll tell some of my personal stories. And I say the same thing every time I've been here, right? Is that you can either come to this training and think about other people, or you can come to this training and think about yourself. And if you make it personal, then it tends to stick better, right? So if you tell your own stories, you'll learn it better. If you come here and you tell stories about that guy you know, or about that lady you're working with, you'll still learn it, but you'll keep it like a little bit removed from you. So if you're willing to tell personal stories, that'd be great. If you want to just think about the people you work with, that's fine. So there's sort of 2 ways to go through it. I'm going to tell personal stories, and you can sort of take the choice and challenge as you kind of see fit, depending on who you're sitting by, right? Like you might not want to tell personal stories to certain people, and you would to others. So based on where you're sitting, maybe you decide how you're going to do that. Anytime we talk about communication and workplace stuff, I like to start with a joke. This is my favorite sort of workplace comedy video, so we're going to do that right out of the chute, and then jump into like being more serious here in a minute. This was a Super Bowl commercial about 10 years ago, which tells you about the last time I was hooked into like modern things.
When we asked Reebok to send us Terry Tate, some people thought we were crazy. But I'm a firm believer in paradigm breaking, outside the box thinking. Hey, buddy.
It was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
And since Terry's been with us, our productivity has gone up 46%. We're getting more from our employees than ever before.
You know you need a cover sheet on your TPS report, Richard! Get in the bed! Hey, Janice!
But what's really impressed me is how Terry's become part of the Felcher family. He fits fits right in here.
That's a long distance call, Doug.
To be honest, I wish Reebok sent us 10 Terry Tates.
Well, when it's game time, it's pay time, baby.
Big fan.
So that'd go over well.
No. Right? Like, no, you need one of those? Everybody needs an office linebacker. It's a different way to communicate. We're talking about communication and conflict resolution. That certainly gets your message across. It's time to get to work. I'm amazed at how often things get misunderstood, right? This is a picture of a supercell thunderstorm. That's rain falling on people. And we say things, right? It'll probably just sprinkle for a little while. We'll probably barely get wet. And then the potential for the difference between what I say and what really happened, or between what I say and what you heard, and then between what you thought about what I said after I said it, and then how you retold it to somebody else, right? Like, we can get off track in a hot minute from what we meant to do to what actually happens, right? There's probably not a lot of new things to talk, like when you talk about communication and conflict resolution, I'll bet you 87.5% of what I'll say today you've already heard, right? I mean, you've talked about how to talk so people will listen before. You've talked about how to work out conflict. You take a verbal de-escalation class, right, as part of your training and orientation. I'm sure there's not a lot that's going to be overly new. The gold is in the detail, right? The gold is in becoming skillful in doing it, in practicing it, in really finding the thing that works the best for you. So we'll talk about a couple of different ways to understand and explain communication. We'll talk about a different metaphor here or there. 2 of them might not stick at all for you, and 3 of them will be really great, something like that. So feel free to like keep how you're thinking about the world, know the stuff that you've already known. You don't have to change anything. Add this to your bucket of skills. It's really all about perspective. So there's this guy who does 3-dimensional sidewalk chalk drawings, right? So it looks like he's standing on top of the world, right? This is what the picture really looks like, right? If you go to the side, then it's not 3D at all. But from a certain point of view, it looks really cool. When I'm telling you things, I'm telling you the way that I saw them. And I'm thinking about the conflict the way it impacted me. And I can only look through my glasses at things. And you could see a completely different thing. Do you remember the children's book? A lot of kids. Do you remember the children's book of the blind mice and the elephant? Right? And the one mouse says, "It's a snake," because he's by the trunk. Another mouse says, "It's a tree," because he's by a leg. Right? Another mouse says, "It's like a broom," because he's by the tail. "It's a big giant sail," because he's by the ear, right? You only know what you know, and it's hard to see things from other people's point of view. My 8th grade basketball coach was Hank Jefford, and Hank Jefford was an okay basketball coach, but he had a great way of saying things. So he was really quotable. One of Hank's quotes was, 90% of the responsibility for a completed pass is the job of the passer. I have to throw you the ball when you're looking, when you're ready, when you're open, where you can catch it, at the right time. That's all my job in throwing you a pass. Your job is just to catch what comes to you. But if I throw the ball when you're not looking, if I throw it above your head, if I throw it too hard, if I throw it when you're not open, if I do any of that stuff, it's a bad pass, and that's my job because I have the ball. The same thing is true when we're talking. Because I'm talking to you, most of the blame today for if this goes bad is on me, because I'm the guy talking. I have to think about what you want to hear, how you like to hear it, in a way that makes sense. I can't just stand up here and say what I want to say, just however I want to say it, because then I might throw a bad pass, right? So, to help me throw a good pass, can we have more than one person volunteer to tell me, what do you do, and where are the communication problems, and where do the conflicts come? So, communication problems that you encounter in your work or your life, or conflicts that you encounter in your work or your life. And we need more than one brave volunteer to help aim me. So otherwise I'll just miss you guys. What do you do? Where does it go wrong? What happens? If I take a drink, oh great.
Tone of voice,
Tone of voice. Say more, keep going.
body language, I mean, the communication ideology, it's all about not what you say, it's how you say it.
You're right, dude, you're like a slide ahead. But yeah, you're totally right. And understanding, right, how to change those things. If I stand up here and I'm just doing this, even if I don't say anything, I'm definitely sending you a message, right? Either that I'm really uncomfortable or I'm bored or fidgety or something, right? Without even talking, I can send you a message. If I do this, who's gonna answer next? Right? Then that's doing something without even words, right? Who's gonna answer next? Where else does it go wrong? What else do you want me to go ahead?
My partner's deaf in one ear, and a lot of times, what you were saying up there about passing when they're looking, a lot of times I'll be talking to her and think she's hearing me, and she's totally somewhere else. And I constantly have to remind myself, and I'm not good at reminding myself, to get her attention first.
Yeah.
We get in a lot of fights over that.
Well, and, right, this isn't a slide today, but you always know why you do things, right? You live with your own motives. I know why I do stuff. We think we know why other people do things, right? She's ignoring me. She doesn't want to talk to me, right? She's shut. Well, maybe she just didn't hear you, right? But we think we can guess somebody else's motives, right?
You assign emotion. to-
Oh yeah, you totally. Well, the other one is, yeah, that we give ourselves permission to do things because of situations. I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person, but that situation made me angry. But when other people do things, we don't give them permission for the situation. We say that that's who they are, right? I don't drive bad on the road because I'm a bad driver. I drive because I was in a hurry, I was stressed out, it's not my fault. But if somebody else cuts me off, they are a bad driver because they have a bad soul. I don't give them context, right? Or motives. I attribute it to their personality. So I mean, that's more than what you were saying, but we do this a lot where we think other people are just who they are, but we give ourselves permission for situation. Yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead.
So in the residential campus work, and so mine is, I noticed when I watch new staff talking to the kids, it's the words they use. So if they, like our kids will, I know my kids' yeses and they uh-huhs and their no's, so I know when they understood what I said. But the new staff usually don't. So like I can sit back and the kid will be like, uh-huh, yep. And I'm like, he didn't understand anything you said, because we expect our 12-year-olds to be 12-year-olds and they're not.
Right.
Cognitively, they're not there yet. So we'll talk to them as if we'll talk to a regular 12-year-old, whatever regular means. And then I'm like, you gotta break it down so far and so low, and sometimes you gotta keep breaking it down. And I have to ask my kids, I have them do sentence by sentence, did you understand what I said? Uh-huh. Nope, you didn't understand what I said. So then I have to repeat it, but without telling them that I know they didn't understand it, because I don't want them to feel dumb either. But I can see new staff, sometimes I'll sit back and watch my new staff have conversation with the kids, and I'll be like, he didn't catch anything you said to him. And so then you like wondering why you like, I told you to do this, and I'm like, nah, you didn't tell him to do that because he didn't hear you.
Yeah, that's a great point. You call that kitchen sinking, where you throw everything at them but the kitchen sink. And you should probably have your sentences be 5 words or less. Not because they're that, but just so that you don't get misunderstood. The more words you say, the more that can go bad, right? And you gotta boil it down when you're talking to, well, really anybody under 18, but in residential or not residential, because they'll take it and run with it. Yeah. Timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have time to have that conversation, don't start it. And like, I get hangry. Don't, like, if you want to have a conversation about something, it cannot be like when I'm trying to find something to eat. Like, and it's true of our kids. Like, if they're hungry, they're mean. Like, all of us, I think. Like, when we're hungry, we're mean. So, like, consider the timing. Like, if they're about to walk out the door to go get lunch, probably not the best time to stop and ask them 15 questions. Probably not the best time to try and communicate something important. You wait until you have a better moment or a better opportunity.
Right, schedule those, ask when would be a good time, yeah. And this is like bonus marriage advice. You should set a time of the day after which no serious talks happen. So 10 p.m., no serious talks after 10, no serious talks after 11. Pick whatever time you want, but you should pick one. Because we're gonna stay up all night and work this out is awful. It's awful. The real marriage skill is the ability to say, I love you, we'll talk tomorrow. And to have some way to contain a conversation until a better time when you're not hungry, tired, right? To have a good pause button is really necessary. For those of you who like to quote the Bible, the do not let the sun go down on your anger is usually the one that people use as the so we should stay up all night and work this out verse. That's not what that verse means. The verse means if the sun goes down, stop being mad. It does not mean keep staying awake and working it out. Don't let the sun go down in your anger means stop it and go to bed. Then wake up and talk when you're nicer. But we kind of use it opposite, right? But any other comments or things you want us to make sure we get to, or things that you have observed about communication, conflict resolution, where it goes bad, how it comes off the rails? Go ahead.
I know a lot of times I can speak something and I know exactly what I'm saying. It's very clear in my mind, but the receiver hears something completely different, you know, and that can also lead to conflict.
Oh, huge. Especially if there's like these buzzwords, right? Or like you say the one phrase or the sentence or the thing, and it kind of like, all they're hearing is like shark music, like Jaws is playing in the background, and they can't hear you after you said money or respect or, right, like you say that one thing and then they're gone. That's a great point. It's like watching Sunday morning TV with Republicans and Democrats. As soon as the one person says the one thing, you know that the other person isn't really listening anymore. They're just waiting till it's their turn to say the thing back. And then this person isn't really listening. It's just, whenever it's my turn, I'm gonna say my comeback line. And they just chuck bumper stickers at each other and kind of go back and forth, but they're not, it's just they get triggered and then they just say the thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I do is just helping families communicate and trying to help guide
fantastic.
those. So, I mean, to use your basketball analogy, I think, you know, for them maybe they're playing dodgeball or they're just jacking the ball at one another and the other person's not even trying to catch it. You know, they're just blocking with their hands or they're just running away from it.
Right. Or you,